God bless you, Father Steve, back with you again for another episode of Ask Father Anything, and we enter into our final segment, our final in the series of vestments, all of the different vestments that a priest wears. And so if you're just tuning in now, go back and watch the previous episodes on why it is a priest wears vestments in general, an alb, the cincture, the stole, and we come to our final vestment, the outer vestment, the chasuble, spelled Chasuble, chasuble. And so it comes from the Latin word casula, which means hut or little cabin or little house. And so it also, so like the style comes from the Roman understanding, the Roman garment known as a panula. And so the panula was basically a poncho. And it served just in that same regard for travelers as they came throughout all of the Roman region. They carried a panula with them, a poncho, and that protected them from storms, from weather, from all of the inclement things that they would enter. And so while all of the vestments have a practical and a spiritual component, the chasuble no longer really has a practical component. It only has a spiritual dynamic. And so in the early church, even though the panula would have been used as the priest's vestments, it was only used at sacred liturgy. The priest didn't wear that panula at Mass on the Lord's Day on Sunday and then out into the marketplace on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. The vestments were for the church. And so we might get confused, or we might hear people say, oh, just the normal clothes are fine. No, these were set aside. It was a sacred panula. It was decorated, I'm sure, and so it looked very, very much in that way. And so the spiritual meaning of this is quite beautiful, and it's found in the prayer again. And so, Lord, who has said, my yoke is easy and my burden light, grant that I may bear it well and follow after you in thanksgiving. To the priest, and I always make sure I gotta straighten it up there a little bit. And so the chasuble represents something. And so what is Jesus's burden, and what does his yoke symbolize? It symbolizes love, or in the church's understanding, charity, faith, hope, and charity. So that charity is God's love, and it's important that the outer garment symbolizes the love of God, because at Holy Mass is when the greatest representation of God's love meets us. It's when we encounter God's love. It's where Jesus' sacrifice on the cross is made present for us, where we're able to feast on his body and blood, where we know where Jesus says to us, there's no greater love, there's no greater charity, caritas, that I can give to my people than to lay down my life for a friend. And so at each Mass, God pours out his love for us. And so also in Colossians, St. Paul says, above all, put on charity. And so this covering of God's love, his charity, this symbol of love is this symbol that his mercy casts out all sin. And so we put on charity. And again, as the priest represents the people of God, he puts on the charity of God, and then he stands before the Lord and just reminds him of his mercy. And so this covering of God's love, it should be a reminder of his great mercy for us. And so the chasuble is also a spiritual protection for the priest. Just like that panula that the Roman traveler would wear to ward off the weather, to ward off the storms, it's also the spiritual guard for the priest. As the storms from the evil one come on, the priest is guarded from spiritual attack. And that's why it's so important for us to pray for our priests at Mass, but also outside of Mass, but also especially at Mass, that his heart and his mind may be clear to offer the sacrifice, because you better believe the devil is coming after us. And so it's that spiritual meaning, but it also is reflective, lastly, of the resurrection. I'm wearing a white garment here. It's the Easter season as I film this, but It symbolizes that outer garment that Jesus wore as he was taken down from the cross. We know now is the Shroud of Turin. His body was wrapped in, and he was laid in the Holy Sepulchre, a newly hewn cave that Joseph of Arimathea had carved out or found for him. And so Jesus' body is laid there. And so the great charity of that shroud, the great charity of that garment now dawns the priest as he goes into the Holy of Holies to offer the great sacrifice in God's charity, his mercy, his love for you and for me. And so God bless you. Please continue to pray for me. Submit all of your questions to askfatheranything@gmail.com, and I hope to continue to get to them. So pray for me in your love and your great charity, and know of my prayers for you. God bless you.